This is it. This is it. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Jordan Cameron back with a very, very important video today. I am actually really excited to talk about today's video because our thesis of the biggest blow off top in crypto history, followed by the biggest rug pull in crypto history, could be on the verge of being invalidated here within the next few days. It has not been invalidated yet, and I want to make that clear. But I always said I would be honest with you guys, and if Bitcoin did get any type of weekly closure below the 50 moving average band, I would be the first one to come on here and say my invalidation has been hit. My thesis is no longer valid, and I am taking significant profits from this cycle and putting them into cash, right, until the next bull market, and ultimately riding out what I do think, whether the top is in for Bitcoin or not, that the biggest sort of bear market that we've seen since 2008 is coming within the next 2 years for the stock market, cryptocurrency, real estate, and everything in between. And I'm going to update you guys with that today and kind of go over a few scenarios in case we do get invalidated, right? Now, my thesis still remains, guys, that we are in max fear right now, right? I wouldn't necessarily say max fear, but we are in extreme fear. And though I'm not going to talk too much about sentiment today, we're basically just going to look at the charts, look at scenarios, and I'm going to explain to you guys what I'm personally doing with my portfolio. You guys do whatever you want to do. Like I said, I am not any type of financial advisor. I just sort of tell you guys what I see on the charts and just give you guys the information that I see based on the charts, and you guys can go from there. But we're going to talk about a lot today, guys. We're going to talk mainly about Bitcoin and the 50 moving average band and why it's historically so important, looking at past cycles and what has happened if we did get any type of weekly closure below the 50 moving average band. We're also going to take a look at this cycle and every single time we have come back to the 50 moving average band and sort of the sentiment that we've seen at the 50 moving average band if we do hold it, okay, what we could expect to see afterwards. And we're going to take a look at scenarios, whether we do hold it or not hold it, right? So if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit the like button. It's going to be sort of a deeper analysis on why this is such an important moment for the cryptocurrency market, for myself, and sort of everyone in between. But as we kind of look at where we're at right now, guys, and as we talked about, I want to say for the last 3 weeks, as Bitcoin's kind of bled since like the mid, like 115,000. I thought, as Bitcoin kind of went sideways here, my thought process was it was kind of likely that Bitcoin either was going to go sideways or it was going to come down to hit the 50 moving average band. Now, we did that last week, and we kind of been hovering up over it for the past 2 weeks. But you guys can see last week we did get a wick below to about 99,000 and ended up getting back above. Okay. And we may as well see the same this week, right? As we've now seen a low down to about 98,000. And Bitcoin is attempting, if we just zoom in real quick, to recover back above. Now, why is this so important, right? We always like to say, why is this so important, not only for this cycle for Bitcoin, but our cycles in the past, is that every single time this cycle, Bitcoin has come back down to our 50 moving average band, which is our 50 simple moving average and our 50 exponential moving average. That has been where sentiment has been horrible, right? People have been throwing the towel. People are saying the cycle's over. And that ends up being not only a psychological low, but also a low on the charts. Okay, if we take a look at over here back in 2023, that was sort of the low over here in 2023. If we take a look over here in 2024, that was the low point over here in 2024. If we look at right here back in early 2025, right, sort of during the tariff lows where we started our thesis, down to about 75,000 for Bitcoin, where we were saying that was the time to kind of be buying the dip. Since then, I have never said to buy the dip. If you did, that's kind of on you. But we ended up holding the 50 moving average band here. Okay, and here we are now with Bitcoin back down to the 50 moving average band, and you guys can see it as absolute hysteria of fear in the market, as Bitcoin is pretty much right at the 50 exponential moving average. If you look at where that is right now, Bitcoin needs a weekly close, in my personal opinion, above 101,000 this week in order to remain in the bullish market. Now, why do I say that, right? Why do I come on here and say that? Where I personally am very confident that if Bitcoin does get a weekly closure below the 50 moving average band, that we come over here to our thesis that we could just be starting this big rug pull from where we already topped and maybe not get that move up to 10 trillion. Still not my base case until the weekly closes, guys. Until the weekly closes, my base case is still that Bitcoin and the crypto market is going up to that 10 trillion point. But why, if it does break, could we be starting the big rug pull from our current point? Well, when I look at this and I look back at previous cycles, okay, if we just kind of look at where we are, if we look at all the times where Bitcoin has broken that 50 moving average band, okay, if we look over here back in 2021, Bitcoin had a weekly closure the week of January 3rd, 2022, below the 50 moving average band. And you guys can see from that point, Bitcoin went on to continue down for another 44 weeks and did not recover back up to that point for another 101 weeks. An extended bear market, an extended brutal period for the cryptocurrency market where it made sense to get out of the market at that point. Okay. If we come over here back in 2018, you guys can see right here, Bitcoin got a weekly closure below the 50 moving average band. And same from that standpoint, right? Bitcoin continued down about 60%, right? And basically did not recover to get it back above that point for another 49 weeks. A pretty brutal time in the cryptocurrency market around this time, okay? If we actually go back over here as well to the 2014 cycle, you guys can see that Bitcoin had a weekly closure below the 50 moving average band right there, okay? And once it did, Bitcoin continued down for another 21 weeks and did not get back above that point for another 90 weeks, okay? Almost a year and a half. A long, grueling period for the cryptocurrency market, right? So you guys can see pretty clearly that the 50 moving average band historically has been a very, very important point where in our 4-year cycles, okay, we typically do not want to break below the 50 moving average band. That is typically meant not the greatest things. And considering where we are in the 4-year cycle as we approach the end of the 4-year cycle, well, I wouldn't say that breaking the 50 moving average band would necessarily be a good thing at this point, okay? But I want to make this very, very clear. We have not broken it yet. Just like last week where we got a wick below and reclaimed, okay? Just like over here in early 2025 where we got a wick below and then reclaimed. Just like twice over here in 2024 where we wicked below and reclaimed. We have not broken below yet. This current weekly candle could end up just being a wick where maybe Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we once again reclaim back above. And my base case is still, I am a bull until Bitcoin breaks the 50 moving average band. It is that simple. I am a bull until Bitcoin breaks the 50 moving average band. All right. And that is still my base case until Bitcoin breaks the 50 moving average band. I want to make that very, 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 very clear. I'm just going over the scenarios and looking at the past of what has happened if Bitcoin broke the 50 moving average band, okay? And going over the kind of the worst case scenarios where if it did, this is what I would expect. Now, that's in turn, okay, where if Bitcoin did break below the 50 moving average band, would obviously mean that I do think that the biggest bubble pop, right, which I still do think is the cryptocurrency market, with literally 99% of cryptocurrencies being absolutely useless garbage that I think have to go to zero before this market really matures and go on its real bull run. I still think that's going to happen next year. I still think that there is a massive bubble pop for crypto and the stock market and actually real estate that's going to happen over the next 2 years, starting sometime in the next 6 months. But nevertheless, whether that starts now or whether that starts after a 10 trillion crypto market, still think the scenario of the bubble pop is still the same. Although, once again, if Bitcoin does break the 50 moving average band, I do think that starts now, okay? My base case, though, is Bitcoin holds this week, gets back above 101,000 by the weekly close, and all is good, okay? Still my base case until it doesn't happen. I want to make it clear where if Bitcoin does break the 50 moving average band, guys, by the weekly close on Sunday, I'll be the first one to come on here Sunday at the close to say my thesis is invalidated. I'm taking my profits that I made on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some other cryptocurrencies. I'm mainly holding Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Zcash at the moment. But any profits that I did make this cycle, which mainly are from Bitcoin, I will be taking 80% out of the market. Okay, that is me. I'll be taking 80% of my Bitcoin, long-term Bitcoin holdings that I've been holding since 2019, 2020. Okay, I will be taking 80% of my Ethereum holdings that I've been holding since 2019 and 2020. Okay, I will be taking 80% of those out of the market if Bitcoin does break the below 50 moving average band. Okay, and I'm telling you guys that right now, and we'll come back on Sunday afternoon to see where Bitcoin is. If Bitcoin does not close the 50 moving average band, I'm still Team Bula, and I'm still looking for higher prices, guys. Okay, but I just want to make that clear of where we are. Now that we got that out of the way, okay, my main thoughts about the market right now is, to me, we have a very interesting scenario going on with the market right now where there is, when we look at the stablecoin dominance chart, it's very interesting, right? And it sort of makes me wonder where we are here in sort of the stablecoin dominance chart, okay? My thought process, once again, is still, as long as Bitcoin closes above the 50 moving average band, I know I said that 8 million times, but it literally is the most important thing for the cryptocurrency market right now. My standpoint still is that stablecoin dominance needs to see 4.9% to hit our bullish invalidation. Where once stablecoin dominance hits 4.91%, okay, that is where we say, okay, we think the cycle top is in. We want to be at least 80% of the market at that point. You want to be taking profits on the way up, guys, right? You want to be taking profits on the way up. Our buys at, our short-term buys where we bought the dip at around 75 to 80,000 Bitcoin, I already took some profits on those. But our long-term bags, we want to be 80% out of the market by the time stablecoin dominance hits 4.91%. That is still the bullish invalidation. And I'm still looking at this as a giant Wyckoff accumulation structure. My only thought process is, once again, if Bitcoin does close below the 50 moving average band, maybe this starts here, and that's already the Wyckoff. No matter what, right, I want to make this very, very clear, guys. No matter what happens over the course of the next couple months, I still do believe that there is a giant bubble pop coming, okay? I really firmly believe that the business cycles are setting up for this giant bubble pop. No matter if we do see 10 trillion or no matter if the top is already in, still do think a giant bubble pop is coming over the next 2 years, okay? I think 2026 and 2027, in my opinion, will not be the greatest year for markets. It's real estate, crypto, stock markets. I don't think they're going to be very good years for any of them, okay? I would just want to make that perfectly clear. I am not a perma bull. I like I said, I will flip when I think the time is right. I have my bullish invalidations. I have my bearish invalidations, but my thought processes are still that the crypto, stocks, and real estate are going to get a massive correction over the next 2 years, okay? Despite the fact that whatever news event you want to come up with, the Fed printing a bunch of money, right? Rates coming down, crypto regulations, all this stuff, okay? Still do think into 2026, right, which is our typical bear market year, we see sort of a bigger and longer bear market into 2026. And I want to make that firmly clear that do not get your bull goggles on, guys. Have invalidations, because this video right now is very, very important to you guys, because listen, we can all want our bullish theses to play out, right? And that's still my main thought process is Bitcoin. I do not want to be sort of the doomer, right, where Bitcoin has bounced every time this cycle, okay? And I'm not being a doomer. But if Bitcoin does close below here, you guys got to have some type of invalidation for yourself, because the last thing I want, okay, is we do go into some bear market, right? And it ends up being a horrible bear market, and you guys did not have any invalidation, and you ride it all the way down, Okay. That's what I don't want. Okay. I really don't want that. So I really want to stress that is I have my invalidation. You guys need to have your invalidation. My invalidation might not be your invalidation. You might think that Bitcoin can close the 50 moving average band. You might think that Bitcoin closes this week below the 50 moving average band. Maybe Bitcoin dumps a little bit more, 93K, and then comes back up and goes to new all-time highs. By all means, you think that, that's your prerogative. You think whatever you want to think. I have my invalidations where I'm cutting my gains, a lot of my long-term gains. I'm not selling everything, but I will cut a lot of my long-term gains if we do see what I don't want to see in the next 3 days. Okay, we have not done it yet, so I have not done that yet, but I'll be ready to if the market does provide that. Right now, a few things I want to talk about and a few arguments that people are going to come up with. And I get these arguments, right? These arguments are great arguments. And I really, on today's video, I want to look at it from both sides. I'm doing a longer video today. We're looking at it from both sides. I know the bulls are going to have the argument, okay? And I get this argument. I really get this argument, man. It's one thing that's very interesting about the cycle is how can we see the Bitcoin top without a true altcoin season, right? How can we see a Bitcoin top without a true altcoin season? My thought process this whole cycle has been, I don't think we're going to see this altcoin season where everything pumps. I don't think that's going to happen simply because I don't believe there's enough liquidity to pump everything, okay? There's way too many tokens. There's way too many cryptos. My thought process has always been, I think the good tokens, the fundamental tokens will rise, okay? The coins with use cases or at least an illusion of use cases will rise. And I think that's a big reason of why you haven't seen the massive altcoin season that everyone's looking for. There's too many tokens. And I think there's a select few that people are gravitating towards this cycle, okay, because of the dilution. Of just the too many tokens. All right. So my thought process and my argument for the bulls is, if we actually just come over here and look at Bitcoin dominance, this is BTX, Bitcoin dominance. Why haven't we seen this massive drop? Still could happen, guys. I want to make that clear. This massive drop still could happen. Why we haven't seen it yet is because I don't think there's been a reason for it. Right? There's no reason for people to hold right now, right? There's a lot of reason for, if you get a pump on your altcoin, to take some profits, right? You get a 2-3x on your altcoin, you take it out. You get a 2x on your altcoin, you take it out. There's so much incentive to do that because what's the incentive to hold an altcoin through? There's no genuine belief in the altcoin market, right? There's nothing that is making people believe to hold into higher prices. That's why you see these moves up on the altcoins, right? That instantly just gets sold off within a couple days because there is no genuine belief and there's no genuine desire that altcoin is going to do anything in the future. So people are just pumping and dumping them, right? That is sort of the main reason why I think you're not seeing the Bitcoin dominance get the massive drop yet. And I use the keyword yet because at any point something could come out that's going to make people believe in altcoins. And I've always said there's going to be some genuine belief in the altcoin market to make people want to FOMO into alts. And I think this cycle, the big difference between this cycle and these previous cycles is people were buying alts, but they genuinely believed that they were going to do something. They genuinely believed that they were going to change the world in some cases. I think a lot of people this cycle have no genuine belief that their altcoins are going to change the world. They're simply holding them in order to buy, in order to hopefully sell higher on other people, right? And that's why you're not seeing these sustained altcoin rallies, in my personal opinion, right? So my argument for the bull is saying altcoins have not had a massive altcoin season yet. I don't think it generally needs to happen that way, okay? I still do believe my main thesis is still that altcoins are going to move up with Bitcoin, assuming it holds a 50 moving average band here. If it doesn't, then that thesis gets invalidated, blah, blah, blah. We already talked about that. But my thought process is still, if you do see this altcoin move up to also its top of its rising wedge, it's going to be mainly fundamental coins coins with some type of use case, and coins that people are generally have some type of belief in. Okay. Right now, the popular narrative is privacy. Okay. You're seeing, I mean, I said I wasn't going to talk about it on the channel, and I don't want to talk about it too much. But the reason you're seeing sort of like Zcash or Monero get moves up at the current moment is because there's some genuine belief there. There's some genuine belief that, say, Zcash has a very, very useful narrative, right? Privacy, right? You got all these EU countries wanting to ban cash positions of over 10 cash transactions over 10,000. You got them wanting to come up with digital IDs. There's a use case for privacy. That's why you're seeing sustained rallies in Zcash, sustained rallies in Monero, right? That's why in 2024, you saw sustained rallies in Solana because people believed in meme coins, at least for a year, right? There needs to be some sort of belief and some sort of narrative that people believe in order to see sustained rallies. Right now, that is privacy. I genuinely believe that's going to be a huge narrative. And that's why mainly my portfolio right now is Bitcoin, ETH, and Zcash. And my personal portfolio, I will be cutting. If Bitcoin closes below the 50 moving average band, I'm selling 80% of my Bitcoin and 80% of my ETH, and I'm not selling any of my Zcash. Yeah, I'm serious. Follow me on Twitter if you want to see my updates on why that is. Okay, it's not just today, guys. I've been talking about it for 2-3 weeks at this point. I think my first Zcash buy was around like 190. Okay, but yeah. You guys can go follow me on Twitter if you want some updates about that, right? Not saying FOMO into it. Buy dips, right? You get a 50, 60% crash. That's your time to get in, okay? Not on pumps, okay? I warn you of buying any type of crypto on pumps, all right? But nevertheless, Bitcoin dominance, big reason. There's got to be some sort of narrative that gets people to get into the crypto market. Now, for the bears, I get it, man. If Bitcoin closes below here, I totally get the narrative. Totally get the narrative of why you think the market is topped. 100% get the narrative. Why you think the market is topped. And why you think that actually the Wyckoff accumulation is just going to be the 1-2 higher low in the move up, right? But I do think it is very important that we have some patience until the weekly close. Patience for the next 3 days, no matter if Bitcoin goes lower, right, to 97, 96, 95 over the next 3 days. I'm going to personally have patience over the next 3 days and come back to you guys on Sunday night. I'll make a video on Sunday night kind of explaining my thoughts depending on where Bitcoin closes, okay? I need to see a convincing weekly close below the 50 moving average band. If it's like 1%, it's not enough for me. I need a convincing close below the weekly moving average band in order to say I think that's it. Okay. So we're gonna sort of circle back and check back in with you guys on Sunday afternoon. Maybe a little bit before, depending if Bitcoin gets a good reclaim before. I'll come on and make a video tomorrow or Saturday, but definitely Sunday afternoon to kind of see where we close this weekly candle out. I think it's very, very important, and based on previous cycles and where we are, that we're so late in the 4-year cycle at this point, I think it is a very critical next few days for Bitcoin. All right, so. It's been your boy Jordan Cameron. I hope you guys have a absolutely fantastic day as we get an update of our possible biggest blow off top in crypto history before the biggest rug pull. And I just sort of want to knock this home right at the end of the video again. No matter if we do get the biggest blow off top in crypto history or Bitcoin closes below the 50 moving average band and we declare that the thesis is broken, I still do believe that 2026 is going to be, just my personal opinion, a bear market year. Okay. And I don't think it's going to be a great bear market year. I think it's going to be one of the worst bear market years that we've seen. This is just my opinion. You guys can have your own opinion based on whatever you want to do. But nevertheless, I do think that 2026, no matter what happens, in the next couple months is going to be a bear market year. Okay. As I've stated many, many times, I think whether we do see a quick blow off top here or we don't, still do think that this is coming, and that's going to be the main talking point as we kind of go along here over the next few months. All right. But let's see where Bitcoin closes the weekly, guys. All right. I'm Team Bula until Bitcoin closes below the 50 moving average band, a convincing weekly close below the 50 moving average band. So I hope to come back on Sunday and continue to be Team Bula as we talk about, okay, Bitcoin reclaimed the 50 moving average band. Let's prepare to move higher, man. But until then, we got 3 days, fellas. It's been your boy, Jordan Cameron. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button. You don't really have to if you don't want to. I get it. But I appreciate it. Catch you guys in the next video. Peace.